When Led Zeppelin walked out of the 1970s, the band faced a storm few groups could survive. They had conquered stadiums and record charts, yet the world around them was changing fast. Punk rock was exploding in London, disco ruled dance floors, and critics were eager to declare the end of the rock giants. Inside the Zeppelin camp, the excesses of fame, drugs, relentless touring, and personal tragedy were pushing the members to their limits. Out of this chaos came an album that Robert Plant would later describe as the band's real turning point. It was a decisive break from their past and a gamble on the future. By the mid-1970s, Led Zeppelin had already released a string of era-defining records. From the blues-heavy thunder of their debut to the expansive double LP Physical Graffiti, they seemed untouchable. But constant touring and the pressure to outdo themselves took a toll. Plant suffered serious injuries in a car accident in 1975, leaving him unable to walk for months. Guitarist Jimmy Page, once the band's driving force, was battling his own demons. The long break that followed gave them time to reflect, but also fueled doubts. Could Zeppelin still lead rock music when the landscape had shifted so dramatically? Those doubts became sharper as punk exploded across the UK in 1976 and 1977. Young bands like the Sex Pistols and the Clash dismissed Zeppelin's elaborate shows and long guitar solos as relics of a bloated past. Music magazines echoed the sentiment, portraying the group as dinosaurs out of step with the raw energy of the moment. For a band built on being ahead of the curve, the insult cut deep. Plant, still recovering physically and emotionally, began to question whether Zeppelin could stay relevant. The band regrouped at a remote house in the Welsh countryside to write new material. Isolation proved useful. Away from the spotlight, they experimented with fresh textures and stripped-down arrangements. Instead of chasing radio trends or doubling down on grandiosity, they explored space, atmosphere, and a more contemporary groove. The sessions revealed a different side of their sound. Less about bombast, more about subtlety and mood. This creative pivot would define their next move. In 1976, they began recording what would become Presence. But the real transformation arrived with the album that followed, In Through the Outdoor. Released in 1979, it marked a decisive break from Zeppelin's trademark Attack. John Paul Jones, often the quiet architect, stepped into a leading role, bringing keyboards and synthesizers to the forefront. Tracks stretched beyond blues and hard rock into territories influenced by funk, pop, and even hints of the emerging new wave. For a band often defined by Jimmy Page's guitar heroics, this shift was dramatic. Robert Plant later pointed to this record as quite a breakaway moment for the group. His own writing grew more introspective, reflecting the personal losses he had endured, including the tragic death of his young son in 1977. The music mirrored his search for renewal. Where earlier albums charged ahead like a hurricane, In Through the Outdoor carried a bittersweet edge, full of experimentation and a sense of hard-won maturity. Critics were divided. Some longtime fans missed the raw power of Led Zeppelin II or the mysticism of Physical Graffiti. Others praised the band for refusing to repeat themselves. What no one could deny was the commercial impact. The album debuted at #1 in several countries and sold millions. In an era when punk and disco supposedly ruled, Led Zeppelin proved they could still command the world's attention on their own terms. Behind the success, however, tensions simmered. Jimmy Page, battling addiction, struggled to maintain control of the band's direction. John Bonham, whose drumming remained thunderous, faced his own personal struggles. The shift toward keyboards and Jones's leadership reflected both necessity and evolution. Plant embraced the change, recognizing that survival required reinvention. His growing confidence as a frontman and songwriter gave the record its emotional core. Songs like "Fool in the Rain" and "All My Love" showcased Zeppelin's new palette, blending Latin rhythms, rich keyboards, and heartfelt lyrics. They were bold departures from the band's earlier blues rock template, signaling that they refused to become a nostalgia act. Live performances of these tracks revealed a group still capable of commanding arenas while exploring fresh terrain. The album's release was a triumph, but it would also become Zeppelin's final studio effort before tragedy struck. In September 1980, John Bonham died suddenly, and the band chose to disband rather than continue without him. In hindsight, In Through the Outdoor stands as both a rebirth and a farewell. It captured the sound of a band pushing forward even as fate closed in. Plant's description of the album as a turning point captures more than a shift in musical style. It represents a moment when Led Zeppelin faced the realities of change, personal loss, a transformed music scene, and the need to evolve or fade away. Instead of retreating into safe territory, they embraced risk. The result was an album that defied expectations and expanded the boundaries of what Led Zeppelin could be. Decades later, the record remains a testament to resilience. Younger generations, discovering Zeppelin long after punk and disco have faded, hear in it a fearless creativity that transcends era. For Plant, it symbolized survival, a statement that the band could adapt without surrendering their identity. For fans, it offered a final glimpse of a group still exploring, still daring, right up to the end. In the larger story of rock, In Through the Outdoor is more than just Led Zeppelin's seventh studio album. It is proof that even the mightiest bands must evolve to endure. It shows how personal hardship and cultural shifts can spark artistic breakthroughs. And it underscores why Robert Plant, looking back on a career of towering highs and devastating lows, singled out this record as the true turning point, quite a breakaway that preserved the band's legacy and set the stage for the music they would each create in the years that followed.